Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of ADMAIL. This is Adam Bergman, founder of IRA Financial. I'm here to help you find the answers to the most frequently asked questions from my clients about self-directed retirement accounts. If you want to learn more, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Just search IRA Financial. On this week's ADMAIL, 3 great questions. One on Roth conversions, one on Bitcoin contributions to an IRA, and one on paying legal fees in an IRA LLC. Hey everyone, Adam Bergman here, tax attorney and founder of IRA Financial. And welcome to another episode of ADMAIL, where I discuss 3 of the best questions from the week from clients of IRA Financial, as well as other interested self-directed retirement investors. So let's get started with question 1 from David M. of Santa Barbara, California. And David wants to know, if I do a Roth conversion, do I have to worry about the pro rata rule? So let me just start with what the pro rata rule is. And the pro rata rule is as follows. If you make an backdoor Roth IRA contribution, meaning you make an after-tax contribution, likely because you make more than $208,000, you can't do a Roth, or you make more than the income threshold because for pre-tax IRA contributions, and you or a spouse have access to a 401k at work, then you're not permitted to make pre-tax IRA contributions. So you're forced to do what's called a backdoor Roth IRA, which since 2010 has been the only way that you can make Roth IRA contributions if you make more than the income threshold, which in 2021 is $208,000. Now, there is something called the pro rata formula for backdoor Roth IRA, which again are after-tax IRA contributions to Roth. Not pre-tax, but after-tax IRA contributions to Roth. And I've used this example numerous times, but in terms of keeping things simple, assume I had an IRA from 2015 of $5,000 pre-tax IRA that's just kind of sitting there in cash. And then in 2021, I want to do a $5,000 backdoor Roth IRA contribution, which essentially means I want to make an after-tax IRA contribution and convert to Roth. Why? Because I make more than $208, married filed jointly, so I can't do a Roth. And I make too much to do a pre-tax IRA because I also have access to a 401k at work. So I'm stuck doing a backdoor Roth IRA. And based off the pro rata formula, if I did $5,000 contributions in the past and I want to do a $5,000 backdoor Roth IRA today, then the way the formula works is you add the 5 and 5, which is 10. And then I look at the amount I want to contribute today to Roth, which is 5, which is 50% of 10. So only 50% of the $5,000 backdoor Roth IRA today can be converted to Roth. The remaining amount stays in after tax, and then obviously the pre-tax $5,000 contribution I made in the past stays in pre-tax. Now, the pro rata formula only applies to backdoor Roth IRAs, David. It does not apply to Roth conversions. So when you do a Roth conversion, which means you convert pre-tax IRA funds, whether it's cash or in-kind assets like stocks or Bitcoin or real estate, that is a separate conversion. So even if you have 30 IRAs, pre-tax IRAs, you can pick which account, which asset you want to convert to Roth. You don't need to do any type of pro rata formula unless you own an LLC, for example, with pre-tax funds. And if you convert the LLC interest, for example, 50% of the LLC interest, then only 50% of the interest will be Roth. But otherwise, if you just have 50 accounts, which each has $1 in it, and you want to convert account number 1 from pre-tax to Roth, then you can do so directly. You don't have to do any type of pro rata formula. So again, David, just to summarize, the pro rata formula only applies to backdoor Roth IRAs when you convert after tax to Roth, not the pre-tax to Roth conversions. So thank you very much for that question. I hope this was a satisfactory answer. Second question is from Facebook. And this individual wants to know, can a client use pre-tax Bitcoin to make a Roth contribution? Now, unfortunately, when you do a Roth contribution, which $6,000 or $7,000 if you're over 50 in 2021, in 2022, that needs to be done in cash. You can only contribute cash to an IRA. You can convert, as I mentioned in the previous question, assets like real estate to Roth, but when you're talking about contributions, whether it's to an IRA or to a 401k plan, it needs to be done in cash. And Bitcoin, under Notice 2014-21, is not considered a currency. It's considered a property, like stock. So thus, it does not satisfy the cash contribution requirement for an IRA. So unfortunately, you cannot make a Bitcoin contribution to a Roth. You must use cash. So that's a quick, hopefully accurate and succinct answer to your question. So thank you. Third question is from Jody Y of Columbia, Maryland. Jody wants to know, I'm wondering if I can pay legal fees for my IRA LLC consulting a tax lawyer for legal advice re IRA investments. The answer is yes. So anything related to your IRA, Jody, any expense, whether it's taxes, whether it's real estate commissions, whether it's legal, accounting, must actually, it's not just can you, it's you need to pay those expenses through your IRA LLC. Why? Because your IRA LLC owns the investment. You do not, Jody. Remember, if you have an IRA, who's the owner of the investment? The IRA. So if your IRA owns real estate or owns a private equity fund or it owns a note or it owns Bitcoin or it owns stock or it owns gold, who's the owner? Your IRA, not you. So if you buy Bitcoin at 5,000 and it's now at 47,000, all that gain, Jody, you don't report it on your 1040. Why? Because your IRA owns it. You don't. The only time you will report it, Jody, is if you take a distribution from your IRA. So to answer your question, if your IRA LLC needs to hire a lawyer, an accountant for a legal matter or an accounting matter, you must use your IRA LLC to make that payment. So again, there's two ways to do a self-directed investment. You can do what's called a custodian control model, where the IRA owns the asset directly. For example, the IRA owns the real estate directly. And in that case, the IRA custodian will be required to send the money to the accountant or lawyer to pay for the expense. But you can also do what's called a checkbook control IRA or an IRA LLC, where the IRA owns an LLC, a special purpose entity, that's ultimately managed by you. And let's say your IRA LLC owns a piece of real estate, and now you need to hire a lawyer to do a quick claim or to do a closing. Then your LLC, since it's wholly owned by the IRA and is actually the owner of the investment, should and must pay the expense. Jody, you're just a manager, so you're not the owner. Your IRA is the owner, so you should not pay for those expenses with personal funds. Nor should any disqualified person pay for those expenses, because that could trigger a prohibited transaction under Internal Revenue Code Section 4975. So it's super important that you remember this, Jody, that when your IRA LLC makes an investment and there's a related expense, as the manager, you should use the IRA LLC funds to pay for that expense, i.e. that lawyer. Do not use any personal funds of your own or the personal funds of a disqualified person. So there you go. Another episode of ADMAIL in the bag. I just wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Early New Year. I'll probably do another ADMAIL next week. So we'll wish all of you a Happy New Year and maybe do some fun things on that episode, something a little bit out in the ordinary for New Year's, but really appreciate all the support all year. It's kind of a newer podcast. I just started this a couple of years ago, but a lot of great feedback, and appreciate all the support, all the downloads, the likes, the listens, the views on YouTube. So thank you very much. Again, just as a refresher, a reminder, if you have questions, could be anything. No dumb questions when it comes to anything IRA or 401k. It's a complicated area, so trust me. There's basic stuff that I still need to refresh myself on. Send us an email at info@IRA Financial. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at IRA Financial, or you can just find us, call us, and ask a question. And either myself or one of our 85 plus tax self-directed experts will be able to find an answer for you. Again, if you send us an email at info@IRA Financial, in the subject matter, just put ADMAIL or Ask Adam, Adam Talks, and it will get to me. And you'll be in the queue. I got 100 plus more, maybe close to 200 questions in the queue. But I'll get to all of them, I promise. Whether it takes me a few months or ultimately close to a year, I will promise to get to all the questions. And if I have too much in the queue, I'll find a different medium for addressing those questions, whether it's just a direct email back to you or a tweet or a YouTube video, Instagram post. I will promise you I will find a way to address your questions. So please do not hesitate. Don't worry. Shoot me a question. This is what I love to do. This is my passion. And this is what I spend all my time doing. So you challenge me. I want to be challenged. And I will do everything in my power to get you an accurate and correct answer to your question. So thanks again. Merry Christmas. And talk to everyone again next week.